Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestha Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gurvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, so today I want to apologize that we haven't had a class for a couple of weeks because of the holidays and because many times when we were supposed to have a class, there was a yagya going on in the temple room and other extenuating factors that have kept us from having regular classes. But now I think we're going to be back to our regular schedule every Saturday and Sunday. And the last homework was to give an extended explanation of the first benefit of the prayer by Lord Chaitanya, Chaitodarpana Marjanam. And I gave you different references to look up, such as the Brihad Naradiya Upanishad, the Kali Santaranya Upanishad, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita, and Civilization and Transcendence book, and therefore to give you a chance to do some research, and then you could do some extra research on your own and write an extended explanation of the first line of this Chaitodarpana Marjanam, or the six Osticon prayers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, six Osticon are the 8 prayers that Lord Chaitanya wrote that summarizes the essence of all Vedic knowledge. When you study a subject for a long time and then you distill down the essence of that subject, you can express it in a few words. And that's what Lord Chaitanya has done. He's, let's say, distilled down all the Vedic knowledge to 8 prayers. And the first one is Chaitodarpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadevagni Nirvapana, explaining the glories of Sankirtan movement. Okay, so, and this is called the six Osticon prayers of the Lord. Actually, we recite these prayers every day before we begin the Srimad-Bhagavatam class. And it's very instructive to do that because it's the essence of all Vedic knowledge. So, many of you have sent in your homework. I have homework from Shrestha and Krishna, Rahija, and also, I'm sure I got some from Sritan Prabhu and from Augusta. And I think that's about it. Maybe some other people send homework in, because it's been some time, and over this period that we didn't have class, maybe up to 3 weeks, I received homework from different people. Sunmuk also. Okay, so what I'm going to do today, let me see if I have. Okay, so I think I'll just read the homework that I've gotten most recently. I've got so many emails, it's hard to go through them now. Okay, so I have most recent homeworks that I received from Shrestha and for Krishna. So let me read Krishna's first. So Krishna writes, Chaita Darpana Marjana means to cleanse the heart of all material attachments. Chaita, of the heart, Darpana, the mirror, Marjanam, cleansing. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-lila 20.12, the heart, the mirror, cleansing would mean purifying the heart. The mirror stands for the illusionary dirty thoughts and feelings. Cleansing stands for purifying. In Srimad-Bhagavatam 6.1.7, it explains how purification means purification of the heart. It is also stated that all the dirty things that are in the heart, It is not an easy task to purify the heart. As said in Bhagavad-Gita 9.31, the way to clean the heart is to engage in all the 9 kinds of devotional activities. The 9 kinds of devotional activities are hearing about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna, remembering Krishna, serving, worshipping the deity in the temple, praying to Krishna, carrying out orders to serve Krishna, serving Krishna as a friend, and sacrificing everything for him. By carrying out the 9 kinds of the devotional activities, one can gradually follow Chaita Darpana Marjana, one can purify their heart. Okay, very good, Krishna. And then the most recent one is Shrestha, who's written and rewritten, I guess, several times and added on to her homework. So this is her most recent let's see. And she said, study the different references discussed in class and write a much more complete definition of Chaita Darpana Marjanam. References Brihad Naradiya Upanishad in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 17.21, Kali Santarana Upanishad in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 7.76 and 3.40, Srimad-Bhagavatam Intro, page 6 and 7 and page 35, Srimad-Bhagavatam 1.5.38, Srimad-Bhagavatam 1.7.7, Srimad-Bhagavatam 12.3.51, Bhagavad-Gita 9.31, Civilization and Transcendence, pages 51 and 52, or beginning of chapter 9. Okay. So, Shrestha writes, I'm not going to read everything she writes, but it's very complete. She says, in the last chapter of the Antya-lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the sixth Osticon, amongst many other prayers, was chanted by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These 8 verses are the epitome meaning the best, of devotional mood, of the devotional mood unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and are the essence of Bhakti Yoga, the only written instructions left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in which he describes the mood by which one should carry out the Yuga Dharma Harinama Sankirtana, the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Thus one can only imagine how profound each word of the Siksastakam is. And then she quotes the whole verse. Kritadarpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, etc. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. The first phrase of the first verse, Chitta Darpanam Marjanam, describes the process of cleansing the heart of all impure desires. In the word-for-word translation of the Siksastakam, it is explained that the Sanskrit word Darpana means mirror. Therefore, in this verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually comparing the heart to a mirror filled with dust that is gradually cleansed by the congregational chanting of the holy names. This analogy is previously used by the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation. In the Bhagavad-Gita, it is said by the Lord in Bhagavad-Gita 3:38, as fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust. In this verse, Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna how the conditioned soul, due to rejecting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is captivated by varying degrees of lust. The pure consciousness of the living entity, which is above the material nature, is thus covered by this lust. The Lord actually compares this lust to an unsatisfied fire which keeps burning in Bhagavad-Gita 3.39, in the verse of Bhagavad-Gita 3.39. What eventually ends up happening is that the living entity becomes bewildered by the lust which occupies the mind, intelligence, and senses. This is explained by the Lord in Bhagavad-Gita 3.40. The senses, the mind, and intelligence are sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. This lust takes different forms and affects living entities in varying degrees, as mentioned earlier. In the purport of Bhagavad-Gita 3.38, Srila Prabhupada explains how the different analogies given by the Lord compare to different levels of lust covering the living entity. Srila Prabhupada writes, the dust on the mirror refers to a cleansing process of the mirror of the mind by so many spiritual methods. The best process is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada is explaining here how the mirror covered by dust is like a living entity bewildered by a lusty mind. He says that out of innumerable spiritual methods, the best way to remove this lust from the mind is through the chanting of the holy names. Lust, which is like an unending burning fire, as explained earlier, is what drives living entities mad for sense gratification, despite the obvious miseries surrounding one's sinful actions. People are constantly suffering the reactions of their past actions and are creating more suffering for their future selves due to whimsical actions in the present. The duty of the living entities, especially in this human form, is to inquire about the true identity of the self. This process is called Brahma Jigyasa. If Brahma Jigyasa is not performed, then one is considered a failure in the human form. Through sincere inquiry of the true self, one must come to the conclusion of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and must act in such service. Only then can one become free of lust, without which one can finally become free of the bondage of material. Without which, meaning without lust, one can finally become free of the bondage of material existence. This is all explained in the alternate translation to Srimad Bhagavatam. In the alternate translation, given, should be an alternate translation to this verse given in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.4 to 6 and in the Bhagavad-Gita 5.2. And it says, people are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that the present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive actions or activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity, as long as he does not know his real identity. He has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification, and as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva or Krishna. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence. Thus, in this first phrase alone, meaning Chaitodarpana Marjanam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has not only explained the miserable situation of the conditioned living entity, but has also explained how the conditioned soul can surely become free from the lust accumulated in their hearts. And then Shreshtha writes a further extension of her paper mentioning many different references to the Chaitodarpana Marjanam prayer in different Vedic literatures like the Srimad-Bhagavatam and Narada Pancharatra, Narayana Samhita, and Kali Santarana Upanishad, and the Brihad Naradiya Upanishad. And then she does what would be called a summary of points from these various, I'm not going to read all the references, but from these various references, it can be understood that the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is 1. The Yuga Dharma, or the prescribed duty for the sage of Kali. 2. The only means by which one can achieve self-realization. 3. The only means by which one can overcome nescience. 4. The means by which one can revive his or her spiritual senses. 6. The most sublime method of religion. 7. The essence of all Vedic knowledge. 8. Non-different from Lord Krishna himself. And then she says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assimilates all these truths in just the first verse of the sixth Osticon, and also establishes the very important point that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the means to devotional service and thus transcendental bliss. And then she goes over each of the points of the entire Chaitodarpana Marjanam verse, but we'll just read the first part, and that is Chaitodarpana Marjanam. The first installment of benefit is the cleansing of the heart. Material activity is stopped, and the consciousness is purified. One begins looking towards how they can act spiritually. Very good. Shreshtha, pretty complete. Just a few little language mistakes, not points that you made, but just a little bit of language can be cleaned up. And it was excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so today I want to discuss a project that I think we can do. And because unless we have a project, we don't really all our theoretical knowledge will remain theoretical. But if we have a project, then we can use our theoretical knowledge practically. So the Cetadarpana Marjanam prayer is very important because it shows different levels of benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. So I think we could start a project called Doing Good to Others. And that is what you would call, that was what you call a Vedic aphorism, aphorism, and that is phalena, doing good to others. No, I'm sorry, doing good to others is not phalena. It's is the motto of a Vedic saying. And now, how do we do good to others? That's the point. Well, we do good by, one, teaching them what is right from wrong. And then, two, inspiring them to always do good. So, this doing good to others begins by knowing what is the difference between right and wrong. So there's a verse in Bhagavad-Gita 18:30. You can write all these things down. 18.30, which says, Pavritim cha nivritim cha karye karye baya baye. Bandam moksham chaya veti buddhi sa partha satviki. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. So, this verse is important because this is what everyone should learn, especially kids. And in the purport, Prabhupada writes, performing actions in terms of the directions of the scriptures is called pravriti, or executing actions that deserve to be performed, and actions which are not so directed are not to be performed. One who does not know the scriptural directions becomes entangled in the actions and reactions of work, understanding which discriminates by intelligence. No, understanding which discriminates by intelligence is situated in the mode of goodness. So, if we're able to understand things with our intelligence and differentiate between right and wrong and continually do the right thing, then we're in the mode of goodness. So our motto, doing good to others, is very important because it means that by doing good to others, we do good to ourselves also, and we remain, or we get situated in the mode of goodness. So, therefore, I think that we should create a web page called Doing Good to Others. And it's a web page of kids for kids. In other words, it's not started by adults, it's started by kids. And kids meaning up to around 16 years old. And I mean, although that's not a limit, but it's just to give an idea. And the idea is that, and this should be our motto, think good, plan good, do good, wish good. Okay, so think good, plan good, do good, wish good, share good, inspire good, be good. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's focus on one way of being good. But we'll use all these things. Think good, plan good, do good, wish good, share good, inspire good, be good. So then, what is that one thing? It should be cookies for good. That is, we have a web page that explains the necessity of knowing between what should be done, what should not be done, and by understanding that, we develop our intelligence to always do good. So, and one way that we always do good is we will send out free anyone who logs into our web page of doing good to others. By the way, the Sanskrit for doing good to others is para dukkha dukhi. Doing good to others. So, therefore, we'll send out free cookies to anyone, especially kids, but to anyone. We make those cookies ourselves, and we have to, before we start doing this, we have to first of all make our web page, put in a simple explanation of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and then make a recipe for making cookies, a really good, great cookie, and explain the recipe, explain how it's made, explain where it's made. It's made in the Vedic Cultural Center. Explain who we are. We're a bunch of kids. Most of our parents were born in America, but we were born in India, but we were born in America. And we want to share some of the culture that we've learned from the Vedic cultural tradition. And it's all about think good, plan good, do good, wish good, share good, inspire good, be good. And one form of this is making our cookies for goodness and sending them out free to others. And no limit to it. And with every cookie, we have a little inspiring wisdom for goodness. Now, what kind of inspiring wisdom for goodness? Those will be paraphrases of Bhagavad-Gita verses that are containing jewels of wisdom, like 1830. And another one would be 640, which says, there's a whole bunch of verses like this in Bhagavad Gita that anyone can agree with, notwithstanding their religion or beliefs or non-beliefs, and says, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So you see, we can get a whole web page and develop it with content and show the practical application of it through cookies and wisdom. Just like the Chinese, they have these wisdom cookies, right? But now we're going to have Vedic wisdom cookies, and we can, and we don't only have to send them out by mail to whoever logs into our web page and gets interested in it. Of course, we have to advertise our web page. And we can advertise it on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, all these different web pages. And we can have pictures of making, photos or videos of making the cookies and explaining why we're doing it and who we are. And same time, we advertise the Vedic Cultural Center where all good things are happening. So you get the idea. It's sharing of culture, and the culture is para upakar. Oh no, I'm sorry, para upakar. That's right. Doing good to others is para upakar. Not para dukkha-dukkhi. It's para upakar. I'm sorry. Doing good to others. Okay, so do you think you can do this? So, in other words, we're putting into action what we're learning. And what is it? What's the action? The action is sending out free cookies, and we can give out free cookies in schools and Sankirtan, but with a message with it and a web page. And this is the way you start something and build it up and become very creative. And it's a different way of basically preaching, but without directly asking anyone to become Krishna conscious. But you teach them fundamental principles of Krishna consciousness through this you would call it, it's not direct preaching, it's indirect preaching, but using the principles of Krishna consciousness, and you're not asking them to surrender, give up their religion, and become Krishna conscious, because ultimately we can show that in every bona fide religion there is this insistence, or there is this promulgation of doing good to others. It's not only Krishna consciousness, but Krishna consciousness has the most thorough understanding of what good is. But still, we can, in a non-confrontational way, explain things about the culture of Krishna consciousness as opposed to the religion of Krishna consciousness. In fact, Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is a culture. And then he explains the difference between culture and religion. Religion is a set of beliefs. But culture is education about how to do things correctly, or how to at least stay in the mode of goodness and eventually come up to the mode of transcendental goodness. That is culture. Whereas religion is a set of beliefs, and those beliefs can be different from one religion to another. But there are, in spite of all of that, universal principles of spirituality. Mercy, cleanliness, truthfulness, and austerity. So it is possible to explain the culture of Krishna consciousness as opposed to the religion of Krishna consciousness. Although Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is a culture. So I'm going to send you what Prabhupada has said about the difference between cultural preaching and religious preaching. I wrote an essay about that. And then we're going to try and make a web page ourselves. When I say ourselves, yourselves. You work together conjointly, cooperatively. Get the help of your parents and any of the devotees who know how to make web pages. Build up the content. We're not going to post everything right away. We're going to work on this as a project. And when we feel confident that we've got it right, we're going to start the web page and try and get a lot of links to it, and ultimately sending out cookies of goodness with wisdom, just like the Chinese wisdom cookies. And I think if this is done right, and we practice cultural preaching as opposed to religious preaching, I think you could make a lot of friends, and people see that you're a bunch of kids who want to do something to make the world a little better than it is. And ultimately, one who does good is never overcome by evil. That's another one of our phrases. Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tatagachyati. One who does good is never overcome by evil. Okay, do you have any questions or comments? Anything, Dhananjay? Okay. So our homework for tomorrow is to think about this idea and see if you have any suggestions about content, about structure of the web page, about making the web page, about making the cookies. We need to get a recipe of a cookie that's really out of this world, fabulous. Some of the ladies know how to make oatmeal cookies, which come out really good. And it's got to be organically, everything has to be organic. No questionable ingredients. And the whole method of making the cookie has to be explained with maybe pictures, because it's a culture. culture means education. So every aspect of this web page, we have to think what the title of the web page is. I have some ideas. You might have some ideas. But it's based on goodness. Say, think good, plan good, do good, wish good, share good, inspire good, be good. And we're making cookies for goodness, for good, or for cookies for goodness. Let's put it like that. And this our Vedic aphorism is para upakar, doing good to others. So I'm suggesting that doing good to others would be one submission for a title. Yes.
So one person says, "This is a great idea, Maharaj, a very practical way of applying the knowledge. It takes a simple concept and dovetails it into today's way of reaching the masses."
Excellent. Very good point. Very good realization. Comment. Okay. Who is that? Is that you or somebody else? Oh, great. Yeah, you've got the gist of it now. This is exactly what I was aiming for. It's a way to connect with people, mainly young people, youth, kids. And another motto would be kids for kids. Kids for kids. Okay. Think good, plan good, do good, wish good, share good, inspire good, be good. Kids for kids, cookies for goodness. Intelligence to always do good. These are different phrases. Wisdom for goodness. And also coalition for goodness. One who does good is never overcome by evil. So you see, Bhagavad-Gita has so many great verses, and then also there's a whole explanation of the mode of goodness, which is in the 18th chapter, and it says, there's knowledge in the mode of goodness, there's determination in the mode of goodness, there's actions in the mode of goodness, and there's education in the mode of goodness, prescribed duties in the mode of goodness, acts of sacrifice in the mode of goodness. So this opens up a whole new dimension. If our title is, or if our motto is para upakar, doing good to others, then you can go into not long, but you can go into many areas of goodness, such as determination in the mode of goodness, religion in the mode of goodness, and happiness in the mode of goodness, and so forth. And this is all explained in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. So there's a huge amount of content that could be developed from Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad-Bhagavatam about para upakar, doing good to others. And the practical demonstration of it is sending out cookies for goodness. Yes.
So a third person says, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, this is an excellent way to break all the barriers and spread the love and kind message. A third one says,
Fourth one.
sorry, this, Hare Hare Krishna Maharaj, what information will we share with people who will reach out with us after finding out our kids' work?
Well, we're sharing with all the cookies that we send out. We send out gems of wisdom or gems of goodness, right? And we have so much. We have 18th chapter, which explains the mode of goodness, and we have 6th chapter, 40th verse, one who does good is never overcome by evil. I mean, these are all transcendental points of wisdom in the Bhagavad-Gita. And then we have the whole Srimad-Bhagavatam also that we could share with others. And it's a message that's uplifting, inspiring, and leading to staying in the mode of goodness rather than the mode of passion and ignorance. This is what's destroying our kids. They're being taught in schools and in the culture of today to act in the modes of passion and ignorance. But the Kids for Kids should be to help other kids understand what is the difference between the mode of goodness as opposed to modes of passion and ignorance. The modes of passion and ignorance lead to misery and ignorance and self-destructive behavior. When the mode of goodness is uplifting, sustainable, and teaches one to be self-controlled, control the mind and the senses, not engage in sinful activities, and so forth. And building up, and also 18th chapter explains what is education in the mode of goodness, what is determination in the mode of goodness, what is action in the mode of goodness, what is religion in the mode of goodness, what is happiness in the mode of goodness. So we have so much, a plethora of Vedic wisdom to support Para Upakar, the web page that means do good to others. Okay?
Next comment. Is there a plan to include the message inside the cookie, like how a fortune cookie do? Like how the
No,
fortune cookie
it
does?
accompanies the cookie because we want them to eat the cookie and not the paper. Right. Although the Chinese wisdom cookie has a message inside the cookie, right? They put a little piece of paper inside. But our message should be a little bit longer than just one little phrase, like, today will be your happy day, or something like that. The Chinese cookie is not, let's say, extremely profound. It's more like the short platitudes. But what we want is genuine philosophy, but in a very short, succinct message.
And
in other words, the more cookies they eat, the more wisdom they acquire.
The next one, Hare Krishna. In other words, if they show interest in the program, how will we entertain their questions or inquiries, or how may we want to extend help, etc.?
Say that again. Say it louder.
In other words, if they were to show interest in the program.
If they were what?
If they were to show interest.
Interest in the program, yeah.
In the program, how will we entertain their questions or inquiries, or
well,
they may want to
through the internet, right? Through messages.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have. So, in the COVID period, everything is online. It's not going to have physical contact. This is a great way to present Krishna consciousness that is uplifting. It's not religious, it's cultural. Culture is education. Religion is oftentimes a set of beliefs. So we're not being religious, we're being cultural. Okay, I got a direct comment. It says, Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, we listened to the class. Your idea of doing good to others, kids for kids, cookies for good, is phenomenal. is a phenomenal one and is simple, practical, and something that creates a momentum in the current COVID period. Haribol, very good comment. That's exactly the point. So this is a project. This is something that we have to work on. So your homework for tomorrow is to share your ideas about the title of the web page, the theme of the web page, the recipe for a super cookie, a series of wisdom statements that can go along with the cookie. Each cookie has one wisdom statement, not more than that. And then follow-ups, and then getting help to build the web page itself, and ideas about how to have many links to the web page, and all these things. We have to think of all these things and make a plan and then execute it and then maintain it. Execution is one thing, maintenance is another thing. That means people will be writing in eventually to say, well, yeah, I'd like to get one of your cookies. I'm interested in this. And I wonder what your wisdom is about. And thank you for doing this. And then we have to make the cookies. We have to wrap them hygienically. And we have to figure out, how much it's going to cost to send a cookie or more than one cookie. There might be a group of kids. They say, well, we're Boy Scouts, and there's 20 members of our scout troop. Can we get one cookie for each person? Okay, yeah, sure. So we have to figure out the cheapest way to send it by mail and how to wrap it. All these things. We have to figure out every one of these things, every one of these details, so that when they get it, first of all, they're convinced that it's hygienically made. We have to explain how we're making it. We're making it in a legal kitchen in the Vedic Cultural Center. And all these things have to be, all the systems of the project have to be correctly and made and in detail. Everyone is wearing gloves, masks, while they're making the cookies. Everything is hygienic, following health department rules. It's a legal kitchen. So people have to have confidence that what we're doing is genuine goodness, genuine good. And also everything is done professionally by kids from 8 to 16, working together to do good to others. Okay, so we'll stop right there.
I just want to include this last comment.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious cookies with gratitude and love.
Okay. I would not use the word love. I'd use the word affection. Love is overused too much. Affection would be better. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll discuss all these things. So I'll wait for all your comments tomorrow, and we'll have more discussion. And then we'll assign responsibilities to different persons or groups, and we want to get this thing rolling. Haribol. All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you.